Welcome back. I'm Harrison, and today I'm going to be walking you through another show and tell style video where I walk you through the materials and the tools and at times maybe even the processes I use to continue up this facade of being an artsy boy and just trying to, bear my heart out to the world and express thyself. Today I'm going to be walking you through a show and tell of an object I made for a special someone. Now, when I'm crafting, when I'm creating, mostly it's to the void. If you can imagine, I am crafting for the idea of who it might go towards, not necessarily with a specific person in mind. And with this, there was a specific, special person in my life that I made this for. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, if he made this for them, maybe he'll make something for me. And let me just stop you right there. Of course, I'll make something for you. But I'll just leave it at that. I probably will make something for you. You know what? Everything I make just for you. Anyways, let's continue. The object I'm going to be showing you here today is the first piece of art that has created the theme around the art that I do today. It was very successful, if not the most successful piece of art I've ever made. So let's hop into it. So here is the object. I made this little guy for my good time girl, my special lady friend who does smoke tobacco on occasion, on very special occasions when we're with family, and she asked me to make her a tobacco pipe just for her. Obviously, it's in this little box that I created. This little piece of acrylic pops out, and it sits in this nice little custom mahogany box that I made to hold the pipe and make sure that she doesn't just, when she gets extra mad at me, doesn't just chunk it at the wall. The box is there, to keep the peace, if you will. But that's enough about the box. Let's talk about this pipe. So as you can see, this is not your run-of-the-mill pipe. You're not going to buy this kind of pipe off the shelf, and I think that's kind of the whole point. Because I made this thing special for someone special to me, I was able to understand her tastes, her aesthetic preferences very specifically. And as you can imagine here, it's quite funky as a result of that because, like me, she has appreciation of, pieces that feel like a piece of art and meet a natural aesthetic and maybe even holds a little bit of mystery and symbolism. But that's enough about that. Let's hop into the actual elements of this pipe. Like any pipe, it has a stem and it has a body. And like any pipe, those two pieces come apart. They have to, so that you can clean it out. Keep it, safe to use for years and years and years and years. But anyways, a little fun fact about the crafting process of this little pipe is that the hardest part was drilling the 3 holes it took to make this body. This whole stem part wasn't even very hard. It was this body that really, really took all my time because essentially you have 3 holes you have to pre-drill before you do any of the shaping, the carving, and the nice aesthetics you see on the outside. And those 3 holes have to be perfectly aligned. You've got the bowl, you've got the stem part, and then you've got another little channel that goes in between those. And where that channel connects to the bowl, it has to connect right at the bottom of the bowl. So there's no wasted tobacco. And that when you smoke, it burns up everything above it. And all the tobacco sits above that channel. But that's enough about those specifics, unless that's what you're here for, which might be the case. Let's get into the aesthetics of this thing. I'm going to be proud to say here that, there's elements to this tobacco pipe that no other tobacco pipe are going to have, not just in the way it looks, but also in the materials that I use. This, for example, is a material that you're never going to see anywhere ever. I made this material myself. I didn't, I'm going to leave that a little trade secret, but I mixed a good handful of things and applied it by hand and carved into it. And despite the way it looks, I think it was successful, but more importantly, it looks very different, the end product, than you would guess it would look if you just looked at the materials I used. So that's going to be a nice little fun thing just for, the uniqueness of this piece. Next, I want to tell you about a part of this thing that makes it extra eccentric, which is very on brand for both me and my lady. It has this little part in the front of the pipe that actually has a little hole in it because it is a vase. Yes, this is a tobacco pipe with a vase. And it doesn't have any bits of nature in it at the moment, but that's the function it serves. My lady can put little flowers, little bits of nature's leaves, if you will, into this little part right here. And she can have it sit underneath this little lip, this shelf, to protect that little bit of nature. It doesn't interfere with how she holds the pipe. It holds essentially like that. And when she goes to light her tobacco, that shelf protects any bit of nature underneath it. So I think that was a fun little feature that might be a little too much, will probably be too much for most people, but that's the kind of thing that I thought she would enjoy, and it turns out she did. And that's the fun thing about making something for someone special. Also, I want to say that, the reason I'm telling you about this thing is because this is kind of the first little piece of expression that fits the current theme of my art, being nature meets symbolism. And this kind of set it all off. It's certainly not the first piece of expression or craft or art that I've made, but it is the first piece in the theme that I work with today. And I would even err to say that this is probably the most successful piece I've made. And part of that, I think, and I'd love to hear what you think, I think part of that is because it is where high aesthetics meet utility. I think there's something lovely, something very utilitarian about art itself that doesn't require or need a function beyond it being art. But I also really appreciate the craft of tool making and objects of purpose. And when you combine those two worlds, I think you have something that is extra attractive to not just me or my lady, but maybe even you as a viewer, knowing that this is something you can use, you can hold, you can touch, it has a function, and the art is secondary to that and in no way takes the back seat either. I think that's what makes this piece so fun, so successful, and as a fun little story time for you. When I finished making this piece, it didn't take hours or days or weeks. It took months, actually, and not just here and there part-time. I really invested a lot of time in the design and the crafting. And I don't make tobacco pipes, so this was kind of like my deep dive into it, and I'm not making them anymore because of just how time intensive it is. But this piece, when it was all said and done, I felt has a little piece of my soul in it. Not just because it was made for my girl, but also because, I don't know, when you really pour yourself into a piece of work like this, you kind of feel like it has a horcrux a little bit, where a part of you, part of your soul enters into it. And maybe that's a nice little fun way of viewing art as a legacy tool. Maybe that's a nice little fun way to say, I've given this thing my all. And maybe that's why I enjoy it so much. But irregardless, that's a fun little note. Anytime you can make something that has an element of your soul in it, you feel like you're minus one chunk of heart or being, but it exists elsewhere in objects. I think that's a fun little concept that every artist can enjoy to ideate around. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these occasional random objects, tools, or processes I use, and I hope you got to enjoy seeing a piece of my aesthetic output in object form. And thanks for watching the video. I will see you in the next one.